Today, we're going to crack open this invisible code that seems to run our habits. You know, the one that makes us do the very things we swore we wouldn't.
I mean, have you ever been there? You tell yourself, okay, this is it. Last video, then I'm going to bed. And then, almost without thinking, you're clicking on the next one. Or how about, tomorrow I am definitely hitting the gym, but that tomorrow just never quite seems to show up. So what is going on? Why does it feel like our own minds just refuse to listen to us?
Well, here's the good news. It is not because you have weak willpower. Not at all. The real problem is something way more subtle, something that's been quietly building up inside your mind completely under the radar. And today, we're going to shine a light on exactly what that is.
All right, let's dive right in. We're about to unlock a kind of secret code, hidden away in the ancient Nikayas, the earliest Buddhist texts that explains this whole mystery of why our habits can feel so, well, so unbreakable.
So, meet the culprit. In the ancient language of Pali, it's just one tiny word, sanyoga. And sanyoga literally means the accumulation. But to make this crystal clear, we're going to use a little metaphor. Let's call it mind dust. Just imagine that every single time you have a certain thought or feeling, a tiny invisible particle of this dust falls and just settles in your mind. You know, the origin of the word itself gives us a huge clue. San is actually a mashup of two sounds. An, which means to come in, and sa, which means to accumulate. So you put it together, and it literally means that which comes in and builds up. Pretty cool, right?
So how does this actually work in real life? It's super simple. Every time you get a flash of anger, poof, a single particle of anger dust falls. Every time you feel that little surge of greed or wanting something, poof, another particle falls. Now, at first, one particle is nothing, right? You don't even notice it. But over days and weeks and years, that dust starts to build up, forming this thick, heavy layer. But here's the thing. This dust, it doesn't just sit there. It's active. It has this weird tendency to clump together, to attract more of itself. And this, right here, is where our habits are truly born. Let's take a look at how this whole snowball effect gets going. This whole process of clumping together has a name, sankhara, which means the formation. So, to keep our metaphor going, think of this as the habit snowball. All those little particles of san, your mind dust, they start sticking to each other, forming this small but growing snowball of a habit. And this perfectly captures what happens. When you start a new habit, you're the one consciously rolling that small snowball. But as it gathers more and more mind dust, it gets bigger and heavier, and it starts gaining its own momentum. Eventually, that snowball gets so big that it starts rolling you. That's that moment when you catch yourself and say, whoa, I just did that without even thinking. But what really happened? The snowball just rolled right over you. Okay, so sana has a second power, and honestly, this one might be even more profound. It doesn't just create actions, it literally shapes your reality. This is a concept called sana, or the perception. And the absolute best way to think about this is like a pair of glasses. The dust, the sana, actually becomes the colored lens through which you see the entire world. So getting this difference is absolutely crucial. Sankhara, the habit snowball, is what actively drags you into an action. But sana, the perception glasses, well, that colors your entire view of everything. One is a pull, like the snowball dragging you downhill. The other is a filter you don't even realize you're wearing. And this is so important to grasp. If your mind has collected a lot of disliked dust over the years, you'll basically put on your dislike glasses, and you'll find faults in a new person before you even give them a chance. You're not actually seeing them as they are, you're seeing them through this thick layer of dust that you've built up. Okay, so we've got this invisible dust building up, creating these massive habit snowballs and coloring everything we see. It sounds a little grim, I know, but here comes the good news. There is a very simple, very practical way to deal with it. And it's all about catching the dust right as it's falling. Let's just walk through this. It's a simple little 3-second practice. First, you just feel that initial spark of an emotion. Let's say it's irritation. The second you feel it, you go to step 2. You just mentally name it. You just think to yourself, sand is falling right now. And finally, step 3, you just pause. You don't fight it, you don't push it away. You just observe it for a quick second. That's it. You see, the magic key here is awareness. Your awareness is the broom. It just gently sweeps the dust away before it even has a chance to settle down and harden. Think about it. This mind dust piles up the fastest when we're on autopilot, right? When we're not paying attention. So simply noticing the process is an incredibly powerful act.
So, when we start to really get this process, we realize something amazing. We're not helpless victims of our own minds. We can actually do a little bit of mental housekeeping, and in doing so, we can find a real sense of freedom, a real lightness.
And if there is one single thing you take away from all this, let it be this. Your mind isn't broken. You are not a bad person for having bad habits. Your mental space has just gotten a little dusty, and it's just waiting for a good cleaning. Now you know the secret of SAN, and because you know, you have a choice. You can actually see the dust as it falls. You can feel that snowball just starting to roll, and you can choose to step aside instead of getting dragged along for the ride. And let me tell you, that is a huge, huge power to have. But that's not the end of the story. In our next explainer, we're going to look at this incredible, almost magical show that happens when our mind dust, SAN, teams up with something called the sticker pilot, Ma. You are not going to want to miss how these two work together to completely trick our eyes. Thanks so much for joining me.